Shri Dasha Skanda 10th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Rasa Panchadhyay ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Krishna Book ki jai. Krishna is hiding from the gopis ki jai. That's the chapter we're reading today. Gaur Premanande. Gurve Gaur Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Angam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurundinataranam Vancha Kalpaturubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Trishe Namah. Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalamashanashaya Janava Bhataye Namah. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Prem Vrindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, at the lotus feet of my most beloved, worshipable Diksha and Siksha Gurudevs, Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa, Astotarashata Sri Shila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa, Astotarashata Sri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak, Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa, Astotarashata Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, and to my Siksha Guru Varga, and my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and to all the Vaishnavis. So we're now continuing from where we left off on Thursday, and we completed the first chapter of the 5 chapters of Ras Panchadhyay. So now we're going to do the second chapter, which is titled, in Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, it is titled Krishna's Hiding from the Gopis. We also made our best attempt to remember in advance what are the particular activities that take place. So now we're going to read this beautiful description. When Krishna suddenly disappeared from the company of the gopis, they searched for him everywhere. After not finding him anywhere, they became afraid and they became almost mad after him. They were simply thinking of the pastimes of Krishna in great love and affection. And being absorbed in thought of him, they experienced loss of memory. And with dampened eyes, they began to see the very pastimes of Krishna, his beautiful talks with them, his embracing, kissing, and other activities. Being so attracted to Krishna, they imitated his dancing, his walking, and his smiling, as if they themselves were Krishna. And due to Krishna's absence, they all became crazy. Each one of them told the others that she was Krishna himself. Soon they all assembled together and chanted Krishna's name very loudly as they moved from one part of the forest to another searching for him. Actually, Krishna is all-pervasive. He is in the sky. He is in the forest. He is within the heart. And he is always everywhere. The gopis therefore began to question the trees and plants about Krishna. There were various types of big trees and small plants in the forest, and the gopis addressed them. Dear banyan tree, have you seen the son of Maharaj Nanda passing this way, laughing and playing on his flute? He has stolen our hearts and gone away. If you have seen him, kindly inform us which way he has gone. Dear Ashok tree, dear Naga flower tree, and Champak flower tree, have you seen the younger brother of Balaram pass this way? He has disappeared because of our pride. The gopis were aware of the reason for Krishna's sudden disappearance. They could understand that when they had been enjoying Krishna, they thought themselves to be the most fortunate women within the universe. And since they were feeling proud, Krishna had disappeared immediately, just to curb their pride. Krishna does not like his devotees to be proud of their service to him. What does Krishna not like? He does not like his devotees to be proud of their service to him. He accepts everyone's service, but he does not like one devotee to proudly consider himself better than others. If sometime there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude toward the devotee. The gopis then addressed the Tulsi plants. Dear Tulsi, you are much beloved by Lord Krishna because your leaves are always at his lotus feet. Dear Malati flower, dear Mallika flower, dear Jasmine flower, all of you must have been touched by Krishna while he was passing this way after giving us transcendental enjoyment. Have you seen Madhava passing this way? O mango trees, O trees of jackfruit, O pear trees and asana trees, O blackberries and bale trees, and trees of the kadamba flower, You are all very pious trees to be living on the bank of the Yamuna. Krishna must have passed through this way. Will you kindly let us know which way he has gone? The gopis then looked upon the ground that they were traversing, and they began to address the earth. Dear earthly planet, we do not know how many penances and austerities you have undergone to be now living with the footprints of Lord Krishna upon you. You are very jolly. The hairs on your body are these jubilant trees and plants. Lord Krishna must have been very much pleased with you. Otherwise, how could he have embraced you in the form of Varaha, the boar? When you were submerged in water, he delivered you, taking the whole weight of your existence on his tusks. After addressing the innumerable trees and plants and the earth, they then turned their faces toward the beautiful deer, who were looking at them very pleasingly. It appears, they addressed the deer, that Krishna, who is the supreme Narayan himself, must have passed through this way along with his companion Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Otherwise, how is it possible that the aroma of his garland, which is smeared with the red kumkum from the breasts of the goddess of fortune, can be perceived in the breeze blowing here? It appears that they must have passed through here, and they must have touched your bodies, and thus you are feeling so pleasant, and you are looking toward us with sympathy. Will you kindly therefore inform us which way Krishna has gone? Krishna is the well-wisher of Vrindavan. He is as kind to you as to us, and therefore after leaving us, he must have been present in your company. O fortunate trees, we are thinking of Krishna, the younger brother of Balaram. While passing through here, with one hand resting on the shoulder of the goddess of fortune, and the other hand twirling a lotus flower, he must have been very much pleased to accept your obeisances, and he must have glanced at you with great pleasure. Now, some of the gopis then addressed their gopi friends. Dear friends, why don't you question these creepers who are so jubilantly embracing the big trees as if the trees were their husbands? It appears that the flowers of the creepers must have been touched by the nails of Krishna, otherwise how could they feel so jubilant? After searching for Krishna here and there, the gopis became fatigued, and then they began to talk like mad women. They could satisfy themselves only by imitating the different pastimes of Krishna. One of them imitated the demon Putana, and one of them imitated Krishna and sucked her breast. One gopi imitated a hand-driven cart, and another gopi lay down beneath the cart and threw up her legs touching the wheels of the cart, as Krishna did to kill the demon Shakatasura. One gopi imitated child Krishna and laid down on the ground, and one gopi became the demon Trinavarta and carried the small child Krishna by force into the sky. And one of the gopis began to imitate Krishna while he was attempting to walk, ringing his ankle bells. Two gopis imitated Krishna and Balaram, and many others imitated their cowherd boyfriends. One gopi assumed the form of Bakasur, and another forced her to fall down, as the demon Bakasur did when he was killed. And similarly, another gopi defeated Vatsasur. Who was Vatsasur? The what? Yeah, calf demon. Vatsasura. So just as Krishna used to call his cows by their different names, so the gopis imitated him, calling the cows by their respective names. One of the gopis began to play on a flute, and another praised her the way Krishna's boyfriends praised him while he played on his flute. And another praised her, one of the gopis took another gopi on her shoulders, just as Krishna used to take his boyfriends. Did Krishna take his boyfriends on his shoulders? I thought only the boyfriends took Krishna on his shoulders. What do you think about that, oh educated Vaishnavas? Yes?
They sometimes play a game of wrestling, and the winner had to take the loser on his shoulder. So one time Krishna lost to Sri Ram, and Sri Ram carried him on his shoulder. One time Krishna lost to Sri Ram, so Krishna had to carry Sri Ram.
Yeah, but I don't believe that. You believe that? That Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can lose in a wrestling match to his boyfriends? To his sakas? You believe that? You do?
Even lost to Radharani. She's just a girl.
No, they didn't wrestle.
No, but if he can touch the feet of Radharani, why cannot be the right legs?
Yeah, but Radharani didn't even have to wrestle with Krishna to defeat him. He was very easily defeated.
Because where the Jayadeva Goswami become bewildered, then what to speak of the ordinary? He was.
Yeah. But Krishna, he likes to be defeated by his devotees.
Yeah.
That's there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 4th chapter, toward the beginning, where Krishna is saying that when someone thinks of me as very, very great, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they think of themselves as very small and insignificant, then their bhakti cannot satisfy me.
Yeah.
Why? Because that bhakti is weakened by this Aishwarya Gyan, knowledge of my opulence. But when my cowherd friends challenge me and they see that, they look at me and they say, you are not such a big man. You think that you are such a big, strong man? No. We can easily defeat you. Come on, let's wrestle. And then when they defeat me, this gives me very great pleasure. But one time Krishna was defeated, and he was lying on his back because he was pinned down by, I forget who it was. Was it Subal, maybe? He was pinned down to the ground. His shoulders were pinned. That means he's defeated. And then Subal said to Krishna, you see, I've defeated you. And Krishna said, no. He said, what do you mean, no? You're down and I'm up. And I've defeated you. Then Krishna said, no. Your nose is down and my nose is up. So I've defeated you. So many pastimes like this. So the gopis, they are also playing all of these games to remember Krishna because they're feeling so much separation mood. Now, one of the gopis took another gopi on her shoulders, just as Krishna used to take his boyfriends. And absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, the gopi who was carrying her friend began to boast that she was Krishna herself. She said, all of you just see my movement. Then one of the gopis raised her hand with her covering garments and said, now, don't be afraid of the torrents of rain and the severe hurricanes. I'll save you. And in this way, she imitated the lifting of Govardhan Hill. One gopi forcibly put her feet on the head of another gopi and said, "You rascal Kaliya, I shall punish you severely. You must leave this place. I have descended to this earth to punish all kinds of miscreants." And then another gopi told her friends, "Just see, the flames of the forest fire are coming to devour us. Please close your eyes, and I shall immediately save you from this imminent danger." And in this way, all the gopis were madly feeling the absence of Krishna. They inquired about him from the trees and the plants. In some places, they found the imprints of the marks on the soles of his feet. What are those marks on the soles of Krishna's feet? For example, what? Lotus flower. You have to say louder.
Conch shell, discus, mace, barley corn, lightning bolt, flags, elephant goat.
Elephant goat, okay. Here they only mention 4. Flag, lotus flower, trident, thunderbolt, etc. So after seeing those footprints, they exclaimed, the gopis, "Oh, here is the impression of the marks on the soles of Krishna's feet. All the marks, such as the flag, the lotus flower, the trident, and the thunderbolt, they are distinctly visible here." They began to follow the footprints, and shortly they saw another set of footprints beside them. And immediately they became very sorry. "Dear friends, just see. Whose are those other footprints? They are beside the footprints of the son of Maharaj Nanda. It is certainly Krishna passing through, resting his hand on some other gopi, exactly as an elephant goes side by side with his beloved mate. We must therefore understand that this particular gopi served Krishna with greater affectionate love than ourselves. Because of this, although he has left us, he could not leave her company. He has taken her along with him. Oh dear friends, just imagine how the dust of this place is transcendently glorious. The dust of the lotus feet of Krishna is worshipped even by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. But at the same time, we are very sorry that this particular gopi has gone along with Krishna, for she is enjoying the nectar of Krishna's kisses and leaving us aside to lament. Oh friends, just see, at this particular spot, we do not see the footprints of that gopi. It appears that because there were some pinpricks from the dried grass, Krishna took Radharani on his shoulder. See, Prabhupada stuck in the name of that gopi. He couldn't stop himself, Prabhupada. Krishna took Radharani on his shoulder. Oh, she is so dear to him. Krishna must have picked some flowers in this spot to satisfy Radharani, because here, where he stood erect to get the flowers from the high branches of the tree, we find only half the impression of his feet. Oh dear friends, just see how Krishna must have sat down here with Radharani and tried to set flowers in her hair. What's the name of that place? In Vrindavan? Shringarvat. And there's a picture at Sringarvat, very famous picture, when you go up onto the mandap, where Krishna was decorating Radharani, then you see a picture there, and Srimati Radharani is looking into a mirror while Krishna is behind her, and he's arranging her braid, her hair braid, and Radharani is looking at who? Krishna. Yes, Keshava. So, dear friends, just see how Krishna must have sat down here with Radharani and tried to set flowers in her hair. You can be certain that both of them sat together here. So, Krishna, Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is self-sufficient. He has nothing to enjoy from any other source. Yet, just to satisfy his devotee, he treated Radharani exactly as a lusty boy treats his girlfriend. Krishna is so kind that he always tolerates the disturbances created by his girlfriends. So in this way, all the gopis pointed out the faults of the particular gopi who had been taken alone by Krishna. They said that this chief gopi, Radharani, must be very proud of her position, thinking herself the greatest of the gopis. Yet, how could Krishna take her away alone, leaving all of us aside, unless she is extraordinarily qualified and beautiful? She must have taken Krishna into the deep forest and told him, "My dear Krishna, I am now very tired. I cannot go any further. Please carry me wherever you like." So when Krishna was spoken to in that way, he might have told Radharani, "All right, better get on my shoulder." But immediately Krishna must have disappeared, and now Radharani must be lamenting for him. "My dear lover, my dearest, you are so fine and so powerful. Where have you gone? I am nothing but your most obedient maidservant. I am very much aggrieved. Please come and be with me again." Krishna, however, is not coming to her. He must be watching her from a distant place and enjoying her sorrow. Then all the gopis went further and further into the forest, searching out Krishna. But when they learned that actually Radharani was left alone by Krishna, they became very sorry. This is the test of Krishna consciousness. This is the test. In the beginning, they were a little envious that Krishna had taken Radharani alone, leaving aside all the other gopis. But as soon as they knew that Krishna had also left Radharani and that she was alone lamenting for him, they became more sympathetic to her. The gopis found Radharani and they heard everything from her about how she had misbehaved with Krishna and how she was proud and was insulted for her pride. And after hearing all this, they became actually very sympathetic. Then all the gopis, including Radharani, proceeded further into the forest until they could no longer see the moonlight. And when they saw that it was getting gradually darker, they stopped. Their mind and intelligence became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. They all imitated the activities of Krishna and his speeches. And due to their heart and soul being completely given to Krishna, they began to chant his glories, completely forgetting their family interests. In this way, all the gopis returned to the bank of the Yamuna, And they assembled there, and expecting that Krishna must return to them, they simply engaged in chanting the glories of Sri Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 13th chapter of Krishna, Krishna's hiding from the gopis. Chapter 31, Songs by the Gopis. What's that chapter called in Sanskrit? Gopi Geet. Everyone say, Gopi Geet. So now, we're going to hear, Prabhupada did a very interesting, small, short summary of the Gopi Geet. Quite short. Quite short. You see, Prabhupada left it for Gurudev to bring a whole separate book for the Gopi Geet. Now, songs by the gopis. One gopi said, "My dear Krishna, ever since you took your birth in this land of Braj Bhumi, everything appears to be glorious. The land of Vrindavan has become glorious, and it is as if the goddess of fortune is personally always existing here. But it is only we who are very unhappy, because we are searching for you, but we cannot see you with our greatest effort. Our life is completely dependent upon you. Therefore we request that you again come to us." Then another gopi said, "My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul even of the lotus flower that grows on the water of lakes, made transparent by the clear rains of autumn. Although the lotus flowers are so beautiful, without your glance they fade away. And similarly without you, we are also dying. Actually, we are not your wives, but we are your slaves. You never spent any money for us, yet we are simply attracted by your glance. And now if we die without receiving your glance, you'll be responsible for our deaths. Certainly the killing of women is a great sin. And if you do not come to see us and we die, you will suffer the reactions of sin. So please, come see us. Do not think that one can be killed only by certain weapons. We are being killed by your absence. You should consider how you are responsible for killing women. We are always grateful to you because you have protected us many times. From the poisonous water of the Yamuna, from the serpent Kaliya, from Bakasur, from the anger of Indra and his torrents of rain, from the forest fire, and so many other incidents. You are the greatest and the most powerful of all. It is wonderful for you to protect us from so many dangers, but we are surprised that you are neglecting us at this moment. Oh dear friend, dear Krishna, we know very well that you are not actually the son of Mother Yashoda or the cowherd man Nanda Maharaj. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supersoul of all living entities. You have, out of your own causeless mercy, appeared in this world, requested by Lord Brahma for the protection of the world. It is by your kindness only that you have appeared in the dynasty of Yadu. O best in the dynasty of Yadu, if anyone afraid of this materialistic way of life takes shelter at your lotus feet, you never deny him protection. Your movements are sweet, and you are independent, touching the goddess of fortune with one hand, and in the other bearing a lotus flower. That is your extraordinary feature. Please therefore come before us and bless us with the lotus flower in your hand. Dear Krishna, you are the killer of all the fears of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. You are the supremely powerful hero, and we know that you can kill the unnecessary pride of your devotee, as well as the pride of women like us, simply by your beautiful smile. We are simply your maidservants and your slaves. Please therefore accept us by showing us your beautiful lotus-like face. Dear Krishna, actually we have become very lusty having been touched by your lotus feet. Your lotus feet certainly kill all kinds of sinful activities of devotees who have taken shelter there. You are so kind that even the ordinary animals take shelter under your lotus feet. Your lotus feet are also the residence of the goddess of fortune. Yet, you danced on the heads of the Kaliya serpent with them. Now we are requesting you to kindly place your lotus feet on our breasts and pacify our lusty desire to touch you. O Lord, your attractive eyes, like the lotus, are so nice and pleasing. Your sweet words are so fascinating that they please even the greatest scholars, who also become attracted to you. We are also attracted by your speaking and by the beauty of your face and your eyes. Please, therefore, satisfy us by your nectarian kisses. Dear Lord, words spoken by you or words describing your activities are full of nectar. And simply by speaking or hearing your words, one can be saved from the blazing fire of material existence. What verse is that one? Loud, louder. Okay, now all together. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam ditam kalmashapaham samana mangalam Srimadatam bhuvi grinanti je buridajana. So here Prabhupada summarizes that verse by saying, Dear Lords, words spoken by you, tava katamritam, or the words describing your activities, are full of nectar. And simply by speaking or hearing your words, one can be saved from the blazing fire of material existence. Great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are always engaged in chanting the glories of your words. They do so to eradicate the sinful activities of all living entities in the material world. And if someone tries to hear your transcendental words, he can very quickly be elevated to the platform of pious activities. For the Vaishnavas, your words give transcendental pleasure, and saintly persons who are engaged in distributing your transcendental message all over the world are first-class charitable persons. And then in parentheses, now Srila Prabhupada is adding to this. He says, this was confirmed by Rupa Goswami when he addressed Lord Chaitanya as the most munificent incarnation, because he distributed the words of Krishna and love of Krishna free of charge all over the world. Dear Krishna, the gopis continued, you are very cunning. You can imagine how much we are distressed simply by remembering your cunning smile, your pleasing glance, your walking with us in the forest of Vrindavan, and your auspicious meditations. Your talks with us in lonely places were heartwarming. Now we are all aggrieved to remember your behavior. Please save us. Dear Krishna, certainly you know how much we are saddened when you go out of Vrindavan village to tend the cows in the forest. How we are afflicted simply to think that your soft lotus feet are being pricked by the dry grass and the tiny stones in the forest. We are so attached to you that we are always simply thinking of your lotus feet. O Krishna, when you return from the pasturing ground with the animals, we see your face covered by your curly hair and dusted by the hoof dust of the cows. We see your mildly smiling face, and our desire to enjoy you increases. Oh dear Krishna, you are the supreme lover, and you always give shelter to surrendered souls. You fulfill everyone's desire. Your lotus feet are worshipped even by Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. On whoever worships your lotus feet, you, without a doubt, always bestow your benedictions. So kindly be pleased with us and keep your lotus feet on our breasts, and thus relieve our present distresses. Dear Krishna, we are seeking your kisses, which you offer even to your flute. The vibration of your flute enchants the whole world, and our hearts also. So kindly, therefore, return to kiss us with your mouth of nectar. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 31st chapter of Krishna, Songs by the Gopis. Chapter 32. What's the title of chapter 32? What happens in the next chapter? Krishna returns. He could not stay away, right? Chapter 32, Krishna returns to the gopis. When Lord Krishna finally reappeared among the assembled gopis, he looked very beautiful, just befitting a person with all kinds of opulences. In the Brahma Samhita it is stated, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabi. Krishna alone is not particularly beautiful. Did you hear that? That Krishna alone is not particularly beautiful. That's kind of hard to believe, but when his energy, especially his pleasure energy, represented by Radharani, expands, he looks very magnificent. The Mayavad conception of perfection and absolute truth without potency, it is due to insufficient knowledge. Actually, outside the exhibition of his different potencies, the absolute truth is not complete. Is the absolute truth complete without his Shakti? Tell me. Huh?
No.
He's not complete. But the Mayavadis, they think that the absolute has no Shakti, no potency. But that is due to their insufficient knowledge. So, actually outside of the exhibition of his different potencies, the absolute truth is not complete. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, it means that his body is a transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge. Krishna is always surrounded by different potencies, and therefore he is perfect and beautiful. We understand from the Brahma Samhita and from the Skanda Purana that Krishna is always surrounded by many thousands of goddesses of fortune. And the gopis are all goddesses of fortune. And Krishna took them hand in hand on the bank of the Yamuna. So now, all the educated devotees in the room will sing the verse from the Brahma Samhita, wherein it is told that Krishna is always surrounded by thousands and millions of goddesses of fortune. What's that verse? Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhirabi palayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. Chintamani prakara sadamasu. I'm going to break this apart and each one is going to tell what these words mean. What does Chintamani prakara sadamasu mean? That his abode, which is already described in the previous, this is the first verse of the Brahma Samhita Govindamadi Purusham, verse number 29. But before that, from the beginning, from the verse 1 to verse 28, all is describing Krishna's transcendental abode and how Lord Brahma received the Gayatri mantra from Saraswati, Shuddha Saraswati, and then later he received the Kam Gayatri mantra from Krishna's flute. And then, after he became enlightened by Krishna's flute, it's described that now he became completely overwhelmed by the ocean of transcendental realization that came into his heart. And he offered these prayers to Krishna. So, this is the first verse, and he says, Chintamani prakara sadamasu. This means that his abode is made of what? Chintamani. What is a Chintamani? Chinta, money. Money means jewel. And Chinta means what? Chinta means desire. Desire stone. Or whatever you think about. Chinta, money. But also it means transcendental touchstone. Okay? So Krishna's abode is not made of like on this earthly plane. It looks, because this is a perverted reflection, but it's 1,000,000 times more beautiful, effulgent, transcendental, unbelievably, overwhelmingly beautiful. Because it's made of Chintamani. So, Kalpa Vriksha. And then the next word is Kalpa Vriksha. What is a Kalpa Vriksha? Do you know? What's that? What's a desire tree? What?
Which can give you what you desire.
What? You mean if I desire to have a nice big house, the desire tree will give me the house? Yeah? Oh. Anything else?
More luxurious things like fruits and flowers.
More luxurious what?
Like fruits and flowers. More luxurious.
Whatever you desire, it can be.
So the Kalpa Vriksha trees in Goloka Vrindavan, there's not any ordinary trees there. There's not a single ordinary tree. All of them are Kalpa Vriksha trees. But in the purport that Srila Prabhupada reads on his record album, that he actually was reading, the purport of Jiva Goswami, translated into Bengali by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then translated into English by Professor Sanyal. So there he says that these trees can provide any type of fruit, any variety of fruit, any quantity of the variety of fruit. But then he says, but the devotees, they have no personal desires to fulfill for themselves. You see. So that's called a Kalpa Vriksha tree. Because Kalpa means desire. Yes, Maharaj?
You know that story Gurudev tells of the sage who goes to the forest and he's sitting there under a tree.
Mm-hmm. No, you tell.
So he's sitting underneath the tree and he's tired and he's thirsty. So he thinks, how wonderful it would be if I had a big glass of wonderful, refreshing water. And a glass of water, a big glass of water appeared. And he goes, wow. But I'm so tired, it would be nice if I had a comfortable bed to sleep in. And a comfortable bed appeared. And he goes, wow, this appears to be a desire tree. I hope I don't think of a lion and he comes to eat me and then the lion comes.
I hope I don't think of such a lion. But you already thought of it. Right. Lakshavriteshu surabir abhipalayantam. What does that mean? Laksha avriteshu. That means he's surrounded by. Laksha means lakhs and lakhs. Avriteshu surabir abhipalayantam. Surabhi means what? Yes, surabhi cows. Because the surabhi cows can do what? That the ordinary cows can't do. Yes. They can also give unlimited amounts of milk.
That is like this tree.
Like the tree.
Yeah.
Like the Chintamani. My God. When you're there, you have to really be careful what you think about, because boom, it'll suddenly appear from all directions. You've got transcendental trees, you have the Chintamani, now you even have surabhi cows. There's a story about a surabhi cow that I remember hearing from Bhakti Swarup Sridhar Maharaj, where the surabhi cow was used by Indra to produce an entire army. Yeah. You know that story? I'm forgetting the details of it. I only heard it once. But a whole army manifested from the surabhi cow. You see?
That's by Indra and also by the Jamadagni, the father of the Parashurama. He was also having once.
Oh, yes.
There also it has happened.
Yes. So, Lakshavriteshu Shurabir Abhipalayantam. Abhipalayantam means he's always herding the cows. Now, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam. What does that mean? Lakshmi Sahasra Shata. What does Sahasra mean? Thousands. What does Shata mean? Hundreds. Lakshmi means what? Goddesses of fortune. But there it also says Lakshmis or Gopis. That's how it's translated. But how many of them? Sahasra Shata means hundreds of millions of gopis. Hundreds of millions of gopis. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam. What are they doing, those Lakshmis, those goddesses of fortune? What are they engaged in doing? If he's surrounded by hundreds of millions of Lakshmis, what are they doing? Sambrahma means with very great, deep, loving affection of praying. Sevyamanam. They are serving that one Krishna. They are serving him. Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So, now we understand from the Brahma Samhita and the Skanda Purana that Krishna is always surrounded by many thousands of goddesses of fortune. The gopis are all goddesses of fortune. And Krishna took them hand in hand on the bank of the Yamuna. And it is said in the Skanda Purana, now we're going to hear something special about the gopis. It is said in the Skanda Purana that out of many thousands of gopis, 16,000 are prominent. And out of those 16,000 gopis, 108 are especially prominent. And out of these 108 gopis, 8 gopis are still more prominent. And out of these 8 gopis, Radharani and Chandravali are even more prominent. And out of these 2 gopis, who? Everyone. Radharani ki jai, Radharani ki jai, Maharani 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 ki jai, Shani Vali ki jai, Shani Vali ki jai. When Krishna entered the forest on the bank of the Yamuna, the moonlight dissipated the surrounding darkness. Due to the season, flowers like the kunda and the kadamba were blooming, and a gentle breeze was carrying their aroma. Due to the aroma, the bees were also flying in the breeze, thinking that the aroma was honey. The gopis made a seat for Krishna by leveling the soft sand and placing cloths over it. The gopis who were gathered there had almost, now we're going to hear about the gopis. Where did they come from in their previous lives? Some of them. The gopis who were gathered there had almost all been followers of the Vedas. In their previous births, during Lord Ramachandra's advent, they had been Vedic scholars who desired the association of Lord Ramachandra in conjugal love. And Ramachandra had given them the benediction that they would be present for the advent of Lord Krishna and he would fulfill their desires. Remember how Gurudev explained that? How did Gurudev explain? about those sages in the forest who saw Lord Ram. What was their sadhan bhajan that they were performing? They were doing... Huh? Yes. They were chanting the Gopal mantra.
I was trying to remember, did the Gopal mantra came in their heart from Sri Ramchandra, or did Narada Muni or something? I can't remember how they got
That
it.
I don't remember. But they were worshipping Krishna with the Gopal mantra, these ancient sages. And as a result of that, what arose in their heart? The mood of conjugal love towards Krishna. Even though they're in the bodies of long bearded, old, gray-haired sages. But when Lord Ramachandra came into that forest and he saw all of them, they looked at him and he could immediately read from their hearts, from their expressions, everything, that they had the conjugal desire to have a relationship with him. But then what did he tell to them? He says, yes, your desire will be fulfilled, but not in this incarnation. Because in this incarnation, I have taken the vow of Eka Patni Vrat, only one wife. So, but in the future, when I appear again, then you will have your desires absolutely fulfilled. So, during Krishna's advent, the Vedic scholars took birth in the shape of the gopis in Vrindavan. As young gopis, they got the association of Krishna in fulfillment of their previous birth's desire. The ultimate goal of their perfect desire was attained, and they were so joyous that they had nothing further to desire. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, that if one attains the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he has no desire for anything. When the gopis had Krishna in their company, not only all their grief, but their lamenting in the absence of Krishna was relieved. So now, after chanting the Gopi Gita and seeing Krishna, and now he's in their company, their hearts became completely relieved. They felt that they had no desire to be fulfilled. Fully satisfied in the company of Krishna, they spread their cloths on the ground. These garments were made of fine linen, and they were smeared with the red kumkum, which decorated their breasts. With great care, they spread a sitting place for Krishna. Krishna was their life and soul, and they created a very comfortable seat for him. Now, sitting on the seat amongst the gopis, Krishna became more beautiful. The great yogis like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, or even Lord Shesha and others, they always try to fix their attention upon Krishna in their hearts. But here, the gopis actually saw Krishna seated before them on their cloths. In the society of the gopis, Krishna looked very beautiful. They were the most beautiful damsels within the three worlds, and they assembled together around Krishna. I remember how Gurudev would sometimes try to make comparisons. Comparisons between the beauty of certain ladies. You remember? When he would talk about Raghunath Das Goswami and how Raghunath Das Goswami had everything his heart could ever desire materially. He was like a prince. He was a prince. And he had a wife so beautiful that she was as beautiful as... Thank you. But actually it's only a name given on this mundane platform, because the women of the material plane, even if they're very beautiful by the estimation of the material beauty in comparison with others. But if you bring one single demigoddess from the higher planetary systems, what will Miss Universe look like in comparison to them? Like a frog.
Yes.
Yes. Not at all beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, even if you take the beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets, right? Like, what's one of the names of the beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets, huh? I think someone in this room definitely knows the name of one of the damsels of the heavenly planets,
Urvashya.
because they named their daughter after her.
Well, her mother was Manika.
Manika.
Yes.
And Shakundala was the daughter.
Okay.
But there's also Urdhvasti.
Yes. Ramba. See how famous? Because in ISKCON, devotees get the names of demigoddesses. Ramba. So, if you take the most beautiful heavenly damsel. Oh, by the way, one time, who was it? There was one king that came there to the heavenly planets. You might remember. The Bhakti Swarup Sridhar Maharaj is also telling this story. One king from the earthly plane came there. Huh?
King Mujukunda?
No. Not Muchukunda. There was another king that came there. Anyway, but while he was there, all the denizens of the heavenly planet who were surrounding him, they began to smell some odor, which was quite disgusting. And what was that odor? He has a material body, okay? In this heavenly planets, the demigods and demigoddesses, they don't have a gross material body made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. They only have the subtle body. And it's described in so many different verses, in one of the 10th canto verses also, that the fragrance of their bodies is like the beautiful aroma of beautiful flowers, right? And they look so beautiful. But if you take a demigoddess from the heavenly planets and you compare her to a Lakshmi from Vaikuntha, she will look extremely unattractive. Yes. Then if you take a Lakshmi from Vaikuntha, even though they're completely transcendental, Satchidananda, but you compare them to the beauty of the gopis of Vrindavan, they will lose completely. You see. Because the gopis of Vrindavan are able to associate with the supreme hero of all heroes. They have to be qualified in every single possible way. And therefore, not only are they the most beautiful, exquisitely beautiful in the whole creation, but they also are very extremely talented. They know all the 64 arts to perfection, like that. So, yes. So, in the society of the gopis, Krishna looked very beautiful. And they were the most beautiful damsels within the three worlds. And they assembled together around Krishna. Now Krishna seated himself beside each of the many gopis. What? Did you hear that before? That Krishna seated himself beside each and every one of the millions of gopis. Shatakoti gopi. So, and it may be asked herein, how did he do this? There is a significant word in this verse, Ishvara. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutana. Ishvara refers to the Supreme Lord as the super soul seated in everyone's heart. Krishna also manifested this potency of expansion as the Paramatma in this gathering with the gopis. Krishna was sitting by the side of each gopi unseen by the others. Krishna was so kind to the gopis that instead of sitting in their hearts to be appreciated in yogic meditation, he seated himself by their sides. And by seating himself outside, he showed special favor to the gopis, who were the selected beauties of all creation. And having gotten their most beloved Lord, the gopis began to please him by moving their eyebrows and smiling, and also by suppressing their anger. Some of them took his lotus feet in their laps and massaged them. And while smiling, they confidentially expressed their suppressed anger. And then they said, "Dear Krishna, we are ordinary women of Vrindavan, and we do not know much about Vedic knowledge, what is right, what is wrong. We therefore put a question to you, and since you are very learned, you can answer it properly. Here's our question. In dealings between lovers, we find that there are 3 classes of men. One class simply receives, another class reciprocates favorably, and even if the lover is very contrary, and the third class neither acts contrary nor answers favorably in dealings of love. So out of these 3 classes, which do you prefer, or which do you call honest, Krishna?" So in answer, Krishna said, "My dear friends, persons who simply reciprocate the loving dealings of the other party, they are just like merchants. They give in loving affairs as much as they get from the other party. And practically there is no question of love. It is simply self-interested or self-centered business dealing. And even those without a tinge of loving affairs, they are better than these merchants. And better than the first class is the second class of men who love in spite of the opposite party's contrariness. Such sincere love can be seen when the father and the mother love their children in spite of their children's neglect. The third class neither reciprocate nor neglect. They can be further divided into 2 classes. One comprises the self-satisfied, who do not require anyone's love. They are called Atmaram, which means that they are absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and so they do not care whether one loves them or not. But another class comprises ungrateful men. They are called callous. The men in this group revolt against superior persons. For instance, a son, in spite of receiving all kinds of things from loving parents, he may be callous and he may not reciprocate. So those in this class are generally known as Guru Druha, which means that they receive favors from the parents or the spiritual master, and yet they neglect them. So Krishna indirectly answered the questions of the gopis, even those questions which implied that Krishna did not properly reciprocate their dealings. So in answer, Krishna said that he, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is self-satisfied. He does not require anyone's love, but at the same time, he said that he is not ungrateful. My dear friends, Krishna continued, you might be aggrieved by my words and my acts, but you must know that sometimes I do not reciprocate my devotees' dealings with me. My devotees are very much attracted to me, but sometimes I do not reciprocate their feelings properly in order to do what? What do you think? Yes, in order to increase their love for me more and more. If I can very easily be approached by them, then they might think, Krishna is so easily available, so sometimes I do not respond. And if a person has no money, but after some time accumulates some wealth and then loses it, he will think of the lost property 24 hours a day. So similarly, in order to increase the love of my devotees, sometimes I appear to be lost to them. And instead of forgetting me, they feel their loving sentiments for me increase. My dear friends, do not think for a moment that I have been dealing with you as I do with ordinary devotees. I know who you are. You have forsaken all kinds of social and religious obligations. You have given up all connection with your parents, and without caring for social convention and religious obligations, you have come to me and loved me. And I am so much obliged to you that I cannot treat you as ordinary devotees. So do not think that I was away from you. I was near to you. I was simply seeing how much you were anxious for me in my absence. So, please do not try to find fault with me. Because you consider me so dear to you, kindly excuse me if I have done anything wrong. I cannot repay your continuous love for me, even throughout the lifetimes of the demigods in the heavenly planets. It is impossible to repay you or show enough gratitude for your love. Therefore, please be satisfied by your own pious activities. You have displayed exemplary attraction for me, overcoming the greatest difficulties arising from family connections. Please be satisfied with your highly exemplary character, for it is not possible for me to repay my debt to you. And this is the final paragraph. The exemplary character of devotional service manifested by the devotees of Vrindavan is the purest type of devotion. It is enjoined in the authoritative Shastras that devotional service must be ahoituki and apratihata. This means that devotional service to Krishna cannot be checked by political or religious convention. The stage of devotional service is always transcendental. The gopis particularly showed pure devotional service toward Krishna, so much so that Krishna himself remained indebted to them. Lord Chaitanya thus said that the devotional service manifested by the gopis in Vrindavan excelled all other methods of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 32nd chapter of Krishna. Krishna returns to the gopis. Gaur Premanande Jai Shri Rasa Panchadhyay Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Gurudeva Ki Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Dasha Skanda Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jai Sachidanand Jaya Gaura Hari Sachidanand Jaya Gaura Hari Jai Nitai Jaya Gaur Jaya Nitai Jaya Gaur Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Yo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So our next class is on Tuesday, and we will.
Is it 10:30?
Yes, it's advertised at 10:30.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually advertised. Between 10:30 and 11, Kirtan will start, and at 11, Harikatan. But I'm saying we're saying 10:30, so that devotees will arrive by. Thank you. But this is this last chapter is the longest one. It's quite long, and we'll probably have to take. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. We'll see how long it will take us to complete. But either on Tuesday or Thursday, we will have completed the Rasa Panchandhyaya, and we'll add some more nectar after that. There's lots of connecting nectar for all of this. Like the entire Gopi Geet of Gurudev's. Huh? That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good nectar. Okay. Hare Krishna.